Welcome to the Leafy Podcast, helping real estate investors and entrepreneurs grow. Say hello to your hosts, Jennifer Glagoric and Brian Price, founders of Leafy Legal Services, teaching you how to protect your assets, grow your business, and manage your wealth. Let's start the show.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Price with Leafy Legal Services. I'm here with our in-house counsel, Richard, and we're going to be talking about a really cool subject today. And so, Richard, why don't you introduce yourself and give you a little background of what kind of experience you have in law?
Yes. So my name is Richard Amagwula. I currently hold an LLM in real property development and real estate. So I guess you could say I'm a wealth of knowledge when it comes to real estate investing and acquisitions and pretty much everything regarding real estate law. And in that, I kind of have a branch within the estate planning and everything that kind of goes along with that. So I'm a wealth of knowledge, so hopefully I can share the knowledge that I have with you all.
Awesome. And he definitely is a wealth of knowledge, and no pun intended, but definitely is. Awesome. So today we want to talk about solo 401ks and self-directed IRAs, or SDIRAs, as a lot of it's abbreviated. So Richard, why don't you give us kind of an idea what each one is and maybe what the benefits are of each and what maybe some of the things people would want to consider deciding on which one they want to do.
So a solo 401k, and it pretty much works traditionally like the traditional 401k that's offered by large companies. Except one of the biggest difference with these is that for an individual, it's strictly for sole proprietors, so someone who has no employees. And but one of the other benefits of this is actually that the sole proprietor's spouse can actually contribute. So if he or she earns or income from the business, so that's sort of a plus for that. So it can work for both the sole proprietor and their spouse.
Okay.
So with the traditional 401k, the thing that differs with this is you put away money on a pre-tax basis, and if it grows, deferred, and if it grows, the tax is deferred, and your money is taxed when you withdraw it. So in the future, it actually might be a higher tax rate, but you can actually opt for a Roth version of this in the solo 401k, where if you put your tax dollars in and your money grows tax-free, so that means upon withdrawal that you can actually withdraw it tax-free. These plans are typically ideal, well, the solo 401k is typically ideal for if you intend to sock away large sums. So it's typically better for the large sum. So somebody typically doing a lower amount, it's probably not something that's to their advantage.
What would be kind of considered a lower amount versus a higher amount?
Typically, it would depend on the plan. I've seen different numbers, but I would say it'd probably depend on. You can contribute. I say if you wanted about 53,000, I would say.
Okay.
53,000, I think, but that would be probably at most.
Okay.
That'll be at most. So even in an individual 401k or in the solo 401k, it's kind of used interchangeably. Individual solo 401k. So I hope I'm not being confusing on that.
Okay.
So I might use those two interchangeably.
Okay.
So it allows you to save for retirement as an employer and as an employee. So you can actually so let's say you're a boss, and both you can stash away 18,000, and as the boss you can contribute 25% of the compensation up to a maximum of 53,000. So that would include your employee contribution. Okay. So that's another advantage of this as well. But one of the things, and this actually works in pretty much all of the 401ks, similar to this in the solo 401k, that typically when you need money, we need to keep the money invested in the retirement account until you reach the age of 59 and a half. And if you withdraw it prior to that, you're typically hit with a 10% withdrawal fee. But being with that withdrawal fee, there's also some exceptions that actually come into play with this one. And so you could typically forego the penalty or the withdrawal penalty if you're purchasing a home, or some expenses that have to deal with higher education or payments that you make if you're trying to prevent a foreclosure or an eviction. And then there's also certain medical expenses. But one of the things about these is they actually work, they could be other ones, and it kind of depends on how you set it up. And going into the setup aspect of it could be it's a whole nother tangent that it's kind of a case-by-case basis. But for the general aspect of it, there's literally those 4 exceptions that you could typically do. Purchasing a home, higher education expenses, payments if you're trying to avoid an eviction or foreclosure, and certain medical expenses. So, a lot of times medical emergencies, things like that, they typically allow for you to dip into it without having that penalty.
Got it. Okay. And, since we mostly deal with real estate investors here, is that something that can be used for purchasing real estate, or is it also just for primary home, or can you use it for an investment property, for example? So
it would sort of depend on how it's structured. So being that you're taking the money out, and it's and I like to say that everything is kind of creates a tax consequence, as they like to say. And that's typically what the best way to look at it. You're looking at, obviously it's sort of your money, but everything that you do, whether you're withdrawing or you're putting in, it's creating some sort of tax consequence. So as I spoke before, and I kind of made it a variation between the Roth 401k, where if you take it out, it's done without tax consequences, or it's done tax free. So that would be one of the methods of thought that you would do. So you can always take the money out, and you can use the money for investment purposes, but to actually do the investing through the 401k, it would be a lot to a real estate investor's advantage to use a self-directed IRA, which we'll get to. And I think that's the one that allows for a little more advantages or a little more flexibility. And but the solo 401k can be accepted as those tax consequences for early withdrawal before 59 and a half, and unless you're using it to purchase a home, which is something that you can find. However, if you're using it to purchase a second home, it's not something, or second home investment property, it's not something that can actually be right. It's a little less flexible in that regard.
Okay, got it. So if it's a primary home, then you have a lot more flexibility in how you can use that. But if you are planning on using it for a second home, then you probably would look more at a self-directed IRA.
Yes,
exactly. Gotcha. Okay, perfect. Well, that's great to know, because I think a lot of times people kind of see the solo 401k and think, well, that's got to be the better fit for me overall. But yeah, that's why you want to have someone like Richard on your side to explain this stuff, because this you don't want to be stuck with a tax bill that you weren't expecting.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
And I will say again, speaking of the I think everything goes into the amount of money that you have invested in it. So in some situations, it actually may be to someone's advantage, because maybe the penalty that they will see may not be a steep penalty for them, considering the type of property that they're seeking to purchase, whether it be for investment or a home or anything like that. So, and that's why I say it's sometimes done on a case-by-case basis, because some individuals can take a $10,000 hit a lot easier than some other individuals. So that's something that you should think about before, and just for planning purposes, that may be better for some individuals. So.
Okay, awesome. When it comes to having a solo 401k and a self-directed IRA, is there certain entities or some sort of formations you need to have in order to get these types of accounts, or can you just do it on your own? Or what would you suggest?
So I honestly suggest, even if you're for both of them, honestly, to do it within the LLC, like you probably want to do any investing, real estate investing, you want to do it through LLC simply because it's just it's better for protection. You want to escape personal liability when you're doing pretty much anything regarding real estate investment, acquisitions. Typically because you never know, especially when it comes to your retirement plans or anything like that. You never want those to be at risk for anything outside of your investments. Because if you do, and there's a possibility, let's say you have a plan that has $50,000 in it, or say, and you want to only use a quarter of that for your investment purposes, but doing other things outside of the LLC can actually put all of it at risk instead. Right. But when you have an LLC, maybe it'll only be what you put within the LLC. So, but then we get into other issues when it comes to things like piercing the corporate veil. But those typically only come about when you're doing pretty much what you're not supposed to be doing. So, you're doing something that's not that's pretty against the law, pretty much. So, and that would be the only time that they can actually go after anything outside of that, assuming that your LLC is set up correctly.
Okay.
So,
gotcha.
And I would always recommend anything LLC. There's other entities, but they don't offer pretty much the same amount of protection, and that's something at Leafy Legal Services that that is done for you and is done properly. So you're able to do it in a way, invest in a way that you're able to take less risk. And the thing about real estate investing, no matter how you do it, there's risk involved. So you're not going to be able to escape 100, to do any type of investing 100% risk free. That's just not the world we live in. So,
yeah.
It's just
sure.
You definitely want to make those type of considerations when you're doing any type of investing. So.
Awesome. Well, that's all great information. And again, we've been talking with Richard, our in-house counsel here at Leafy Legal Services. And, we offer solo 401ks and self-directed IRAs. And so if you'd like to get more information and talk to someone about it, to one of our advisors, or even to Richard, you can contact us on leafylegalservices.com. And we're happy to schedule an appointment with you and find out what works best for you. Because as you can hear what Richard has to say, not one size fits all is depending on your specific situation. Everything, needs to be tailored to you, and that's what we're here for. So, Richard, I want to thank you for being on the call today. And as we wrap up, any last words you want to talk about regarding solo 401ks or self-directed IRAs?
I think one of the things that I want to kind of cover just briefly is as far as the even with self-directed IRAs, which is probably one of the biggest benefits for that are the tax benefits. I think, and it's something that I would recommend, assuming that somebody has a little bit of knowledge within the real estate game, I guess. It's definitely not something that you want to do without having the knowledge in it. But again, like the solo 401k, there are a little bit of risk in there. Assuming you're not an avid real estate investor, you do have those risks. And then you also want to consider like the traditional IRA, that you have to take a minimum distributions once you reach the age of 70. So assuming that you're, one of the older investors and you're 70 and plus, it can typically be a little bit harder to get distributions when you're dealing with real estate, mainly because distributions when it comes to real estate aren't as steady as other investments. So it's just a consideration depending on the type of real estate you're investing. But I will say with the self-directed IRA, you do have a little bit of flexibility that you choose to invest in, as opposed to in the traditional IRAs where it's your company or the corporation that you work for typically chooses, you're investing in this. And real estate typically isn't one of those things that they invest in. It's usually stocks and bonds and, things like that are a little more predictable. But besides that, I think that's a good little, overview of everything. Yeah, I think hopefully I've been able to impart some type of knowledge like I said I would. Yeah, that's been awesome. So again, leafylegalservices.com.
come talk with Richard. Obviously, he knows a lot more than what we're able to discuss on here. We probably talk all day and still wouldn't get through it. So again, Richard, I want to thank you so much for being on today's podcast. And everybody, get a hold of us. If you need anything, let us know. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Attention real estate investors and entrepreneurs. Did you know that real estate investors are a primary target for lawsuits? According to the National Survey of the Court data, 25% of Americans risk being sued in their lifetime. However, if you are a real estate investor, you have a 95% chance of being sued in the next 20 years. Leafy Legal Services helps you protect your assets and strategically grow your business and wealth. Leafy Legal Services are experts at the Series LLC and Delaware Statutory Trust, two of the newest and most ideal legal structures for real estate investors. Leafy Legal Services have the most personalized and affordable solutions for setting up LLCs. Property owners are always at risk when it comes to their assets. Anonymity is so important. If you own just a rental house and you own your home, you have to protect yourself and your properties from any potential legal issues. Leafy Legal Services have the right solutions to make sure you are happy and feel secure. They offer cost-effective documentation that suits their clients' needs. For a free consultation and ebook, visit leafylegalservices.com. They are waiting to hear from you. leafylegalservices.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Don't wait. Take action now. LeafyLegalServices.com. Protect your assets, grow your business, and manage your wealth.